never guess the places that I've been. You never guess the places that I've been. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that dream that I live in.
I got involved in motorsports at a very early age. My cousin won a bike at the county fair. It happened to be an Arctic Cat mini bike. If I remember right, I think it was 3.5 horsepower. And he lived just up the road from me, so at 5 years old, I got my first experience on two wheels. That experience has led to a lifelong journey of riding motorcycles and actually all things motorsports. Along that journey, I got my first motorcycle at the age of 12. It was a Honda, and I got it so that I could use it to chase the cows in from the pasture for milking both morning and night. I'll tell you, it sure beat the crap out of walking through the crap. I very much enjoyed that experience, and since that time, I have never been without a motorcycle. Over the years, those motorcycles have ranged from the dual sports that I started with as a kid to my first street bike when I was able to ride to school. I was one of the few kids that rode a motorcycle to school. Every day, rain or shine, it didn't matter. Who wanted to ride the school bus? I mean, come on, let's be real. It beat walking and it beat the school bus. When I joined the military, I had my motorcycle shipped all the way to Colorado from New York. It arrived on a flatbed tractor trailer all by itself. A friend of mine was headed out that way empty to pick up some farm machinery, and my bike came with him. That first day on that bike, I rode 500 miles in temperatures that ranged from 45 degrees to below 30. But I made it home that night. It was a pretty cool experience. I got involved in motorsports training about 25 years ago. There was a need for people to assist with training classes to teach people how to safely operate and learn skills, and I was encouraged to participate and become part of that. So I did. I had actually taken training all the way back in the early 80s, and I was going to put that training to use. That life was always a hobby, as I worked part-time teaching people everything from ATVs to motorcycles to snowmobiles. About 5 years ago, my hobby became my career as I changed from my work in engineering and architecture to motorcycle program management. From that date until today, I have been able to follow my passion for motorcycles, and now I'm a part of the Harley-Davidson family, running 2 programs here in Orlando. It has been a great experience taking my life from riding to teaching to being part of a family and a culture that respects motorcycles and the community in general. You would be surprised to learn that most motorcyclists aren't just about themselves, they are about the community in general. Through benefits that they host for people who have nothing to do with motorcycles, to events, to community action. The riding community is a strong part of any community. And becoming a part of that means you become part of a family that supports everyone else in that community. Over the years, I've had the chance to have some amazing friendships within the community. Some of those helped lean me towards Harley-Davidson. One of my best friends and one of my co-instructors, Clint Lauren from upstate New York, was an avid Harley enthusiast, also president of our local Hog chapter. Based on my association with Clint and my dealings with him, I became more and more understanding of how Harley is more than just a motorcycle. It's a culture, it's a passion, it's a lifestyle. And the people that you meet become part of that family along the way. I learned a lot of things from the people I teach with, but probably more from Clint, thanks to his involvement with Harley I have now been a member of HOG for several years. I try to participate and help out the organization as much as I can. As well as the amazing people that I've met along that path have been some of the amazing journeys I've been able to take. In my motorcycling history, I've been able to participate in racing, off-road. I've competed in enduros in New York and New Hampshire. I have been able to ride motorcycles in almost every state in the country, Canada and Mexico included. I have been able to visit racetracks for on-road courses from New York, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Indiana, even California. But my most memorable ride comes one day when I had 2 weeks off from work. I decided I would visit my sister who lived in Maryland, and I lived on the Canadian border of New York. So it'd be a short 6-hour ride. By the time I finished that day, I was in North Carolina. This was back before GPSs. And I called someone I knew and said, hey, let's have dinner. So I went out to dinner in North Carolina that night. I got up the next morning and said, I'm over halfway to Florida. So I threw my leg back over my bike and kept riding south through the Blue Ridge and through the mountains of Georgia down into Florida. I got to Florida that night. I called up somebody I knew, a friend, and I said, happy birthday, let's go to dinner. They didn't believe I was in town. Turns out I was only a few blocks from their house. We had dinner. I stayed in Florida for a few days. I hopped on the bike again and drove north. I made it 1,000 miles that day to my sister's house. After 6 days on the road, a 6-hour journey that turned into 6 days, I got up the next day and my brother-in-law said, I'm taking the car to the racetrack. Do you want to go? I said, heck yeah, let's go. I pulled into the gate at the Mason-Dixon Speedway in Maryland, and they said, spectator or racing? I said, I can race? And they said, $25. You can bet I was quick to hand over that $25. I made 3 passes, and on a 700cc bike, I managed to pull a 13.0 at 105 miles an hour. I was pretty pleased. A couple of days in Maryland, and then I headed back to New York. I hit the Canadian border after 8 days and 3,500 miles, riding some of the best roads in the East Coast, drag racing, going to the beach. Amazing experience. If I can give any advice to the folks out there today, it's don't miss the opportunities that you have. Riding is a way to free yourself from the daily grind. Sometimes it takes me a whole tank of gas to put the pains of the day away. Get a motorcycle. Learn to ride, respect it, become part of that riding community. You only live once. Don't have regrets tomorrow. Live for today.